Greetings, salutations, welcome in. First and last stream in a month like this. My name's Samuel Infamous, for those of you who don't know. And this is Whispering in the Dark, number 20. We're going to be talking about some stuff. We'll be going over a video. Hopefully it plays well. We'll see. I'm currently live on Rumble, YouTube, and Twix. If you're in any of those places, drop a comment. Let us know you're here. All that said, fading the music out. Ha ha ha. Ah, the old late and gay. What do you mean, old late and gay? And I scheduled this shit for 10. Hi, Static. Howdy, JB. Welcome in, guys. So we're going to be talking about a video that got put out by a YouTuber named Jake Monroe. His link is in the description below, as well as a link to the video we're going to be showing. And we're going to be going over the whole video. So, but that'll pretty much be the whole show. We're just doing that tonight. I know there's other stuff that happened this week and this weekend, but we'll be getting to that on Saturday with the full panel because I want more perspectives on that sort of thing. For that, in particular, tragedy on Sunday. So we'll be discussing that further on Saturday. Waiting a little bit more for, cooler heads and also more information because, we've got some more today than we had yesterday, but you never know what's going to come out between now and then. So we'll be saving that for Saturday. Tonight, we're going to be talking about subculture and the hijacking of subculture by the cancer that is progressivism. So, and to do that, we'll be showing a video by, again, as I said before, YouTuber Jake Monroe. He's a goth here on YouTube, out of Ireland, I want to say. I think that's where he lives. He says he's at. I don't know, but anywho, either way, other side of the pond, that kind of thing. So this video game sucks. This is not a video game stream. It's not a video game stream. It's the end of the month, man. I always do one of these at the end of the month. So, and this is the last night I had to do it. I was going to do it last night, but life got in the way and all that stuff. So we ended up doing a late game stream instead. Tonight, here to hang out, here to chill, here to see y'all. So, and for those of you who have not seen one of these streams before, I know it's all kind of like static looking and boring and all that. My avatar doesn't wiggle around like some other YouTubers I could mention. It's a possibility down the road, but like right now, it's going to be static. It's going to be that. Not to be confused with the static in the chat currently. Anyhow, good to see y'all. Welcome in. Do all the things like share, subscribe, all the shit that I don't normally plug because I'm not any good at it. And if y'all feel so inclined as to support the channel or whatever, there's a Cash App link pinned to the top of the chats in both YouTube and Rumble. Anything is appreciated. Nothing is obligatory. I will take your money like a whore, but you don't have to. There's no obligation. So anyway, let's get started. First things first, so the focus of the video is obviously the goth culture, subculture specifically, but I think this can be applied to any subculture or fandom or hobbydom or whatever part of, whatever you're into, really, whatever you're into that maybe isn't politics, maybe it's escapism, maybe it's, just something it could be bird watching for all I know, right? There's another lady who's out there on the interwebs, goes by Carrie Smith, who did an expose a couple years ago on the cancer infiltrating the knitting culture of all places, right? Like Facebook groups and all that stuff focused on darning socks or making quilts or blankets or whatever. And apparently that got pretty bad pretty fast. So this, for lack of a better word, actually I think this is probably exactly the right word, this pernicious ideology is inherently intrusive and destructive. Like its sole purpose is to worm its way in like a virus and tear apart like how a virus works, like exactly how a virus works. So like a virus comes upon a healthy cell, right? And it inserts itself into the cell, and it injects its code rewriting RNA sequences into the cell, which then rewrite the DNA in the cell to replicate more of the virus. And in doing so, it destroys the virus, or it destroys the cell rather. And you get a bunch of baby new viruses that go out and do the same thing to other healthy cells. I mean, that's how they spread. And this ideology is no different. It's no different. So, yeah, Karlin Borisenko. I'm not going to get too much into her, but yeah, I know she's experienced some of that stuff. Not a fan personally. I don't think she's who she says she is. But that aside, I know a couple years ago she did get into it with the same people. Yeah, it's all poison. It's all poison, right? So, concerned about the lack of information. She sent us a video, not a video rather, but a photograph of him showing up again. He's still there. He's still beefy. He's still out there. Hey, Caucasian Sasquatch. Howdy. Welcome in. We're going to be going over some stuff about subculture and the poison that's infested it. She kind of did it with Carrie before she went full. Yeah. Now this is a few years back and all that, but she got kind of nuts, like objectively and overtly nuts. After a while, for a minute there, it seemed like she was. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about her. I don't want to talk too much about her because I don't want to say anything like awful about her or anything like that. I just don't have. I'm not a fan. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not a fan. Lord help us, Tampa. Welcome in. Good to see you. So let's pull up the video. Hopefully this plays for you guys. It should. We're fingers crossed. Everything's working good. We'll see what happens. And also be aware that you might hear some noise, some extraneous noise from my microphone at times, because I might have got into it with my neighbor who plays his music way too goddamn loud, and he has been testing me with it ever since. So if you hear any like faint music that doesn't seem to belong, that's my neighbor being a dick. After thinking about it, I think I made the Shade Master through Carrie. I don't know who that is. So, I know who Carrie is, but I don't know who the Shade Master is. So, but that's entirely possible. But all right, let's bring up the video here. We're gonna do it like this. I'm trying out some new stuff with the layouts and whatnot. So, good evening, Aaron Laura. Welcome in. Good to see you. So hopefully this plays for y'all. We're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best here. All right, here we go. Oh, and let me know if you can hear it too, because that's gonna be a thing. And we're gonna be stopping periodically to address points and whatnot. So here we are. Let's do it. I did credit you.
Welcome. Yes, things have changed. Things have changed quite drastically. My name is Jake Monroe. Proud white man. Indiscriminately racist, but that's my business. Becoming increasingly...
It's a hell of a way to start a video. I don't think he's actually racist. I think he was making a joke because, people who aren't inherently... what's the word I'm looking for? Progressive. We'll use progressive here as the same euphemism they use. Tend to throw that word at everybody who doesn't line up with them. So I don't think that necessarily means anything. But I think he's just making a joke there. It's pretty funny if he is.
Obvious. But there's an enemy out there. I didn't want to use that word, but they've made it very clear that they are one. It's demonstrable evil. I'm a very divisive person. You say, hey, do you watch Jake Monroe on the internet? And their reaction is going to be one of two things. Oh my God, I love that guy.
I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately. I tend to fall into that category, and I don't know Jake from Adam. I've never met him, um, but I tend to agree with a lot of his takes. Not all of them, obviously. I don't think anybody agrees one to one on anything with anybody, and if they say they do, they're fucking lying. Um, but yeah, no, he's grown on me quite a bit. So white equals racist checks out. Yep, that it does. That it does. Also, thank you, Aaron, for being awesome, being an awesome mod. Appreciate it.
That lad, he's the best. Or it'll be one of disgust.
All right, I think I glitched out there for a second. We're gonna give it a second. Hopefully it clears up. All right, I think we're good. Let me know in the chat if it's getting glitchy or if it's getting like choppy or if the audio's cutting in or out or whatever. If you can hear the audio, that's really the main point. We don't need the visuals so much. It's pretty much just him walking back and forth. So hey D-Day, good to see you, man. Welcome in. Welcome in. So and what he's going to be talking about for those of you just coming in is like he's part of the goth subculture, right? But this, like I said at the top of the show, you could apply to any subculture or fandom or hobbyist extravaganza. I don't know, whatever it is that you're into, right? And essentially, I mean, the overall message here is gatekeep your shit. Keep people whose only goal is to come in, tear it down, and take it away from you. Don't need to be involved in it. Essentially,
That awful man. Yes, we've all heard the stories. Except mine, apparently. But I'm not here to talk about that. One thing is for certain. There is a growing amount of people who support what I'm talking about. You don't need to put yourself front line, put yourself in the crosshairs. I can do this all by myself.
I love the confidence here. I do. The way he's phrasing it is really, really hysterical to me. I'm digging it. I'm digging his presentation. The whole presentation of this video is fantastic, by the way.
I know you're there, and I'm speaking for you, and you know that. And I love that you know that. And I love that you know me. I appreciate you. I see you.
And he's not wrong. I mean, it's nice to have people who have your back. Even if you don't really know them. It's nice to have that.
Are both the silent and the vocal supporters of what I'm actually doing here, which is this. I am putting together.
Right. I need to double check something real quick on this other screen. Hopefully everything's working okay over there. And you guys can clearly hear the audio, I imagine. I hope. So, all right. So I got that other screen pulled up so I can see if it's freaking glitching out or whatever. Let's try it again.
A red-pilled alternative movement. Now I'm going to get into what red pill actually
real quick,
is and how
when he's talking about red pill, now he's referring to the general, I think, use of the word red pill, not the specific, opposition to feminism specifically. Which like there's two basic things. Some guys will say, oh, it's red pill content when they're basically talking about MGTOW, right? And then there's red pill content when it's talking about like why I left the left, or waking up to the bullshittery around you, or whatever. I mean, the usage of the term is the same. It's just applied here in one sense very specifically. In the other sense, generally, it's politically or it's very generally, right? And obviously, the term comes from the movie The Matrix, right? If you take the blue pill, you go back to your life. You take the red pill, you wake the fuck up, and then you go eat porridge in a cave in a badly knit sweater while the machines are trying to murder you all day long. But at least right? So yeah. The way that it was meant to be. And that's one of the things that Is it choppy? Is it choppy? All right, we're going to try and get through this. Hopefully, it's not too bad throughout the entire thing. But again, if for whatever reason it is, you all can actually watch the video yourselves. I have the link in the description below, as well as the link to his channel, just because credit where credit's due and all that, which I really need to start doing with Gabriel Torch a little bit more frequently. I'm very, very, very bad at like actually putting hot links in the description that aren't. It's all copy paste for me. So. Yeah, I will try to get better at that. General air of conservatism is a good way to put that. Yeah. And like Static said, the Matrix red pill, the kind of the way it was meant to be, what that actually was. Like, we're all asleep, we're all, not seeing things the way that they are. And if you take the red pill, you wake up, you start to get a glimpse, you start to realize where you are and whose boot is on your neck. That sort of thing. All right, let's continue. Hopefully I'm going to keep bitching about this. I am. Hopefully this continues to work. Here we go.
Very snugly within being an alternative person in whatever subculture you want to be in, whether it's emo or goth or punk or whatever. That's the next video. The next video I'm doing, I'm going to be talking about that.
I do apologize. My internet is a little inconsistent right now. I'm not sure why that is. It shouldn't be, but here we are. Here we are.
Want to do, and that is even the playing field. I don't like politics. I'm not a political person, but on these things.
So we're going to pause it there. Hopefully you guys heard that. He's talking about how he's a political person, or at least he says he isn't a political person. Like I said, I don't know the guy. I haven't gotten that impression from him, but it's you blame my neighbor. You can blame my neighbor all you want. I don't know. It's fine. I come home today and the whole hallway smells of fucking pot, and now it smells like somebody set their fucking toaster on fire. I don't know. It's not good. My neighbor situation is not good. I don't think they like me any more than I like them, because fuck everybody as far as I'm concerned. But
these ideologies be present and be qualifiers for being part of subcultures, and I cannot abide by that. So I have to become polite. They were before.
am I sure that's not a stroke or something? I mean, it shouldn't be. Here, I'm going to try something else. It's probably going to cost me a little money, but yeah, it'll be fine. All right. All right. Hopefully that does the trick. Unless this is a StreamYard's issue. I don't know, because everything else seems to be running just fine. In which case, I need to get the fuck off of StreamYards again. So, but yeah. Hopefully this pans out a little bit better here. Why is that not working? Hold on, just a second. I think I fucked something up here. Nope, we're still good there. Still good there. All right. Well, let's give it a shot. See how it goes. I would love to give it a shot and see how it goes. I hit the wrong key. Hold on a second. This is what happens when you're live, right? It's what. Frankly, I need to start contacting Gal and having her do all the backstage shit for this.
Freak them and the shit that they can.
Yeah, this might not go so well. I don't know. I'm trying, folks. I am trying. Oh, that's so irritating. All right, we're gonna try this again, because I'm seeing it glitch out on my StreamYard screen, but I'm not seeing it on the other one. So I'm gonna watch the other one for a second along with you guys and see how this works out.
Do you remember that? Do you remember when goth was about cool stuff? Yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, so let me know. Is it just the video that's choppy, or is it the audio too? Because if you can hear him, it doesn't really matter if the video is choppy. Right. We're only about a third of the way through this, but I think this is an important thing to get through. So, um, yeah. I mean, is it the audio is choppy too? Oh shit. Both on your end? Okay. Okay. So I think what I'm gonna do is I would like to finish this tonight at some point, but yeah, we'll I don't know. I don't know, man. If you wanna Static, if you wanna do, I know you said you're tired and all that, but we're not gonna be here all night. This is not gonna be like a 2-hour stream. So we're just gonna get through this and talk about the points that he's making and all that stuff. So um anyone that wasn't wearing black and listening to Nin, Marilyn Manson, etc. in the late 90s can leave. That's funny. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. Your shit seems to be working now. It seems to be working now. Let's see if we can get a little bit more in here. That is not the right key. Obviously I'm really good at this whole streaming thing, folks. So, oh shit, dude, congratulations. Glad you got some work. That's awesome. Yeah, no worries, no worries. So, all right. Well, we're gonna push on. We're gonna see what we can do. Anywho, because like I said, I think he's making some great points here. He's talking about the politics invading shit.
Sometimes I look back and laugh, regardless of where I am, and think, oh, those goths. What a great bunch of folks.
All right, so it's clearly not working. Give me a second. I'm going to see about a thing real quick. Meantime, how you guys doing? What's going on? All the stuff. So, 1 second. Silence is golden, but it's not great for live streaming, obviously. Dead air is bad. So, all right, send a message out. We'll continue as soon as we're able on this. It's something 30. I should sleep. Work in the morning, dude. You gotta stick around for me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here anyway. Real life comes first. Your dad's in the hospital. Hope he's gonna be okay, man. No, family's first, man. Family and in real life, all that. Kind of, not really. It's a whole thing. So kind of, not really. But we're gonna probably, it's like I said, the signal seems to be coming back pretty good, so we will probably push onwards if I can't get any help. And if I can't, like I said before, the video is in the link in the description below. And I'm going to try that sentence again because I completely screwed it up. The video link is in the description below, as well as the link to the dude's channel and all that. But I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of time to set this up. I mean, I did. I just didn't do anything about it, I guess, is probably the more accurate way of putting it, right? I set up the stream and all that stuff, but I only had about a half hour after I got off work to get started. So I don't know. It is what it is. It's maybe something to think about for the future, though. Definitely. All that stuff. So appreciate it. I don't think I'm going to get a response there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to push on anyway. In theory, things should work. In theory. One can hope. Anyway, here we go.
Which has recently become a terrorist organization, and rightfully so. But I'm going to be simple within.
Yeah, okay, this isn't going to work. NPR care. You got my voices all fucked up there. I can't decide if I'm going to do a NPR thing or not NPR thing. You know what we might end up doing? So I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about what he's talking about here anyway. But we might end up bringing this up on Saturday, so that way I don't know. I don't have Galvin either. We'll figure something out. Freestyle, yeah. So, but otherwise, essentially, the gist of the thing here, the gist of it is that what he's doing is he's proposing to put together kind of an anti-progressive red pill movement for subcultures, right? Specifically, again, talking about the goth subculture, but not just the goth subculture, right? You know, it wouldn't matter if your thing is like, I don't know, square dancing and nut huggers and shit kicking boots, right? This could be for you too. You know, it's the idea, I guess, is to push back against the ideology, which is, it has been happening in some circles, in some instances and all that stuff, but not nearly enough. And we're still getting, you know, as I've termed them before, nose ringed Berkeley acolytes with bad fucking hair, right? Infiltrating everything. Like there are certain hobbies, right? Our buddy Shadow of Hawk, he's big in the Warhammer community, right? I don't know if he's like big, like important, but he's really into it. And they're getting a ton of shit like this. So you got two sides. You got what they call Chudhammer, which are the ones who just want to play the fucking game. And then you've got the Wokehammer, which are the ones who want to police everything said and done by A, the game's creators, and B, the people who play it. And like do all the hobby shit. Like, I don't know, they make and paint figurines or whatever. But and the point is that it was escapism, you know. And this is something that I think we need to understand as a people, right? Is that the whole point of escapism is to be able to take a breath, to be able to step back, to be able to have something in your life that isn't wholly dependent on and beholden to the all-pervasive evil of the world, right? You know, and it's unfortunately, it's everywhere in the West now, right? It's a weakening of things. It's an infiltration. It's a cancer, you know. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and it's in the title. Progressivism is a cancer. You know, it disguises itself as something good. It labels itself as something good, but its sole purpose is to seek out these spaces and destroy them, to make sure you have nowhere to escape to. You know, and I'm not talking about like running away from everything, right? You don't want to, like, obviously you don't want to disconnect from the world entirely. That's idiotic. That's ostrich in the sand shit. But we should be able to have something to ourselves that does not require that we be beholden to everything else in the world while we're involved in this. It's a way to get away, to escape. Sadly, my way to do it, unfortunately, these days, is be on YouTube, in which case there is no fucking escape, especially the kind of content they usually do, which is talking about a lot of stuff like this, you know, or mad science or playing video games or whatever. But for a lot of people, they've had those things taken from them. I mean, you take the movie industry, for example, the last 15 years or so, right? Just inundated with this, you know, poisonous anti-theology, inundated with it, constantly in your face all the time. You're hardly going to see anything on TV or in a movie that was made after 2015, definitely not after 2018, that doesn't have some measure of this garbage inserted into it, right? And usually it's in the form of like badly written characters who are like self-inserts of whatever asshole they pulled off of the campus of the local progressive college to write the thing. Or they've got some bullshit in there about like climate change or about right-wing people, or just whatever. There's something in there about your race or your there seems to be an overly large representation of gay people. And I know how that sounds, but the fact of the matter is 2% of the population is overrepresented in film. They just are. There are far more of them than is actually representative of the actual gay population. Yeah. And it's last 9 months have been a shift. I think the last 9 months have been a start, man. They've been a start. I don't know if it's shifted yet, and I don't think they're willing to like back off on that just yet. I think we're going to see some pushback on that. And I think we're also going to see a bunch of shit that was made before any shifting started to occur start to come out again. Because a lot of these movies are in the can, ready to go and all that stuff a year or two before they're ever released. In which case that they were written and they were filmed at a time when that was the thing. That was the trend, if you will. So they're going to come out and they're going to say some stupid shit. And people are going to be like, well, this is really dumb. And those movies are going to lose money. But here's the thing about that. These ideologues do not care about the money. It's not about the money. To borrow a line from The Dark Knight, it's not about the money. It's about the message. It's always about the message. And the message is you suck. Everything you have sucks. And we're here to make sure you know it sucks. And we're also here to take it away from you so that you don't have anything left but the reminder that you suck. Yeah, it's just a beginning, man. It's just a beginning, But it reminds me, a couple of years ago, we were talking about this when Matt Walsh said some shit about the culture and about Hollywood and all that stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, we've been pushing back against this. No, you haven't, dude. You started saying it because you started to notice. But before that, you guys on the right were sitting there saying none of that matters, right? None of that culture stuff matters. It's the political stuff that matters. It's the, you got to live right and do all this stuff. And that's all fine. But the culture does matter. Because it's pervasive. It's part of who we are as a culture, as a society, And I've long said this, that not only did the educational system get corrupted, so they're churning out little commie cogs by the time they're ready to go to college, and then when they get to college, they're cemented into those roles. But once the entertainment industry got taken over, they were able to begin indoctrinating at a much earlier age, right? When the mind is very impressionable. I mean, more so than it would be at like 6, 7, 8 years old. The time when we're learning the most and we're learning as fast as possible, right? 2, 3, 4 years old. And now everybody's dependent on tablets and on iPhones and on Netflix and Disney Plus and all these things to entertain their children while they do whatever it is that they feel they need to do, rather than actually parent their children. And they're allowing the entertainment industry to raise their kids into people that they may not like, people that don't share their values, people who may in turn become foot soldiers for a movement that seeks to destroy everything that they know. So I mean, I do agree that there's a beginning of a shift, but I don't know how far along that is. I'm not willing to put all my eggs in that basket just yet. um I think on a more practical level, it's on each of us as an individual, right? Monitor, if you have children, monitor what your children are exposed to. Police that shit. Control it, right? They're children. They don't get to decide what they get to see. I mean, if you don't agree with allowing children to make extreme body modifications at an early age, why would you think that it was okay to let other people put fucking ideas in their head, right? Police your children. On a more personal note, police yourself. Monitor what you watch. Restrict things that aren't going to be good for you in the long run. That kind of thing. I think to butcher an old adage, it begins at home. It begins at home. It begins with ourselves. That whole thing about be the change you want to see in the world, right? I think we need to see more of that. It's great that there are movements pushing back against like the larger manifestations of this shit, right? That's fantastic. But unless people are willing to actually change how they move through the world, how they interact with this stuff, right? I don't know that it's going to gain all that much traction in the long run. So, yeah, clean your room. Like the lobster man himself said. On the verge of a county road. I mean, yeah, we are. We were getting to a point where they had almost, complete. All they had to do was wait. People hadn't started waking up, getting red pilled, if you will, about the situation, and then we would have been in a much worse position because all they had to do was wait, right? They had all of the things working for them, education, entertainment, the news media, hell, a lot of the political stuff was going their way. All they had to do was wait because get them while they're young, as Stalin said, and the possibilities are endless, right? You wait for these kids who are being indoctrinated now to grow up 20 years down the road, right? When it's cemented into their minds. And it'd take 100 years to clean that shit out of our country system. So Ben T, the high school down the street has a litter box and a restroom for students who identify as cats to shit in, because of course it does. On a purely hygienic level, cats bury their shit with their paws. You telling me that this school is totally cool with kids wandering around with shit and kitty litter on their hands and feet, spreading that all across the school, potentially diseases, at the very least, just grossness, right? I don't think they think these things through. The military, there's definitely something going on with the military. I think we're going to see a lot fewer of the leather dog mask weirdos running things over there. I think they're cracking down a little bit on the people who come out and say stupid shit on social media while they are in the service of the U.S. military, right? I miss the 90s and 2000s. I don't miss the 2000s. The 2000s were honestly where it all really started to go downhill. The 90s were great for the most part, but the 2000s, especially, probably I would say starting around 2004. 2004 is really when that slippery slope really started to happen. And then in 2008, we all know what happened there, and shit just kind of went fucking haywire. Putting on my tinfoil hat here a little bit, I also kind of blame CERN in 2012 with the whole Hadron Collider thing, but that's a whole other thing for another live stream. I have other things going on there, but yeah, I do miss the 90s. I miss a lot about the 90s, actually. I don't miss everything about the 90s. Our hairstyles were pretty shit back then, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, but you know, and Jake here, I was a part of the goth movement at the time. You know, and he will often talk about how it was never a political thing. It was always about the music and the aesthetic and the appreciation of the macabre. Right. And he's absolutely right about that, because I was a goth alongside people who had absolutely completely different political and religious convictions than I did. Right. We got along just fucking fine. Nobody gave a shit. You know, we had things in common. So we focused on those things that we had in common, and everything was great for the most part. I mean, you know, it gets a little clicky here and there. You get, you know, well, I was in high school then. So, you know, we weren't perfect, but it was what it was. I do kind of miss it. I do kind of miss that time a little bit. I don't so much miss all the work I put into the fucking look, though. I really don't, because it is a lot of fucking work. I stopped doing the face paint thing and the fingernail polish and all that shit decades ago. Just because A, it gets expensive, and B, fundamentally I'm lazy. I still have an almost entirely black wardrobe with like fucking, you know, certain macabre themes on most of my shit, but these days I look a little bit more like an aging biker than I did like a goth. So it's what it is, man. I don't know. So I'm also a fair bit older than Jake here. You know, at least a decade, probably more, and all that. But it is what it is, man. I just go, everything's got to be easy now. So that's half the reason all my clothes are still black. It's just because I don't have to fucking think about it. I can just throw whatever's clean on, and I have an ensemble, you know? So, but, used to have an Outback trench coat before the thing happened. Never did makeup, etc. Yeah. I had some back then. I ended up getting some others later down the road. But yeah, for a minute there, yeah, it was not a good idea to be wearing a trench coat, especially not in the school. You know, great music in the 2000s, though. I disagree. I think that's when they really stepped up the whole, at least in the States, man. At least in the States, I think that's when they really stepped up the whole like canned, you know, sort of everything sounds the same and alternative is all the mainstream shit now kind of sound, right? Like everybody started sounding like either they were Pearl Jam or Nickelback, right? Mostly Nickelback. You know, even the metal, right, is kind of like the new metal and whatnot, you know, like your Slipknots and what have you. Even they had kind of a very commercialized sound, in my opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I didn't enjoy listening to it. I actually stopped listening to radio in like 2006 altogether because of that, because everything sounded the fucking same, or they would only play the same 5 songs over and over again. There was that too, and all that. And I started listening to music from other parts of the world, because there was more variety to it, you know. And also I have some peculiar tastes in that time. So it is what it is. But some of that alternative music was good. I will agree with you there. But again, this is totally subjective. This is just my opinion. It's just my taste, right? You know, you can take it with a grain of salt or don't take it at all. You know, so yeah, it's just static like Limp Bizkit in a non-ironic way. I was just talking to somebody about Limp Bizkit. They have exactly one song that I actually like, and it's Break Stuff. That's it. It's the only one. I can't really stand anything else they've done. So and all that, but Hoobastank. Oh, you mean Hoobastank? Yeah. I kind of forgot they happened, if I'm being honest. And they have like one album that everybody liked and then nothing. I don't know. Maybe they've got a very loyal and diehard fan base. I don't know. I kind of stopped paying attention to them decades ago. And Puddle of Mud, it's kind of the same deal. Aaron Laura says the only radio I listened to in the early 2000s was a classic rock station. No radio anymore. So yeah, I worked in a lot of places where we had like background radio and all that stuff, and it was usually like a classic rock station that was playing because it's one of the few things that's more or less acceptable to everybody, right? problem is with the classic rock stations, they play the same 3 Guns N' Roses songs. They play the same 5 um, Leonard Skinner songs. They play the same 4 AC/DC songs over and over and over again, and then they throw Crazy Train in occasionally. So it gets really repetitive and really old, especially when you know that all of those artists had large discographies with lots of great fucking music that just wasn't getting any airtime. And those were bands that had been established. They'd been around forever, right? So it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. I think that might be part of what happened too, how we got complacent about people taking over culture, about the commie mind virus insinuating its way in, is everything became sort of bland and homogenized for a minute there, and some of us stopped paying attention to it, and that opened the door, that opened a window, that opened a crack in the wall they were able to worm their way in through, right? I'm sure there was shit going on behind the scenes too, at corporate offices and whatnot, but I think that was it. We got lulled into complacency by the sheer banality of it all, and allowed it to happen, unfortunately. You don't hear any hint of like culture war stuff. In fact, the very phrase culture war was a very niche term prior to like 2014, 2015, right? Around the time that all-female Ghostbusters movie came out, right? And then you started to hear it, but it was only applied to the movie industry. And then you started to hear it more as it was applied to other industries that maybe didn't get as much attention, right? Like the comic books, like figure collecting, all of that sort of thing. And meanwhile, over here in the corner, you got your subcultures doing their kind of own thing. But sooner or later, some commie fuckstick comes along and says, "Oh, no. That seems like a nice thing to have over there. You can't have that. I can't have that. You have that. So I'm gonna worm my way in. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna be like, oh, don't you want to include everybody? Don't you want to? Isn't this open to everybody?" And as soon as I'm in, I'm gonna be like, "But I don't like this thing over here. You have to change that to please me." And as soon as they do, "Oh, but you have to change this too to please me." "Oh, well, it's always been like this." "Oh, well, you don't like it. You can leave." Right? And that's the cycle. That's the way of it. They come in, they start changing shit, and people accommodate them. And that's the key right there. People accommodate them. People allow them to do it, or they change things to be more inclusive, because it's all about the language they use, right? They talk about inclusivity. They talk about empathy, which is a bullshit term, by the way. They talk about all of these things that are supposed to get you right in the feels. You don't think about what they're saying. You feel it, and you feel bad. You feel bad about it. So how do you stop the bad feelings? Well, maybe if we make a little change here and there, maybe if we change this, we change that, maybe they'll feel better, and then we'll feel better because we won't feel like such shit human beings because they told us we were shit human beings. Right? And the more you let that happen, and it never stops with the one thing. The more you let that happen, the less and less the thing that you're involved in, the subculture or the hobby or the whatever, resembles what it was that attracted you to it in the first place. Until one day you wake up, they're in charge of everything, and they're telling you that you have to leave because you no longer fit. Right? Like a virus. Just like a virus. So the key is the gatekeeping, right? Look, it's fine to have new people come in who want to be involved. It's fine to see. I mean, we all got involved at some point. We're all noobs at whatever it is at some point, right? We're all new to it. Somebody maybe said something, or we heard a thing, or we listened to a thing, or we saw a thing, or we read a thing, and we're just like, "Hey, I kind of like this. I wonder what this whole thing's all about. I wonder if there's more like this out there." And you get involved, and you become part of the thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Where it goes wrong is when a person attempts to define what the thing is for everyone else. Because the fact of the matter is whatever it is, be it subculture, be it hobby, be it whatever, it does not belong to you in the sense that you have ownership over it and you can make that call for anyone else. It does not belong to me in that I can go in and I can tell people, no, that's not right. You have to do it my way. And that's the difference. That's the difference that I see. Remember the day my buddy said we shouldn't say fag anymore. I knew then shit was gonna get weird. Yeah. So, and again, going back to the 90s, right? Fag wasn't used against gays, generally speaking. I mean, in the 80s, it fucking absolutely was. And in the 90s, we just threw that term around willy-nilly at anybody, at each other, at ourselves, right? It really wasn't that offensive. It may have come from a more offensive place if one were to. Once again, I gotta point this out. Something my mother has said to me repeatedly over the years, and something that I've carried with me since she got it through my thick skull. In order to be offended, one must first take offense. Being offended is a choice, right? It's just a word. It can't hurt you. It can't hurt me. It's just a word. The only way that you get feelings about it, that anybody gets feelings about it, is if they choose to get feelings about it. Otherwise it doesn't have to mean anything. Words have the meaning that we assign to them. They have the power that we give them. And so if you just choose to let it roll off your back, I mean, it's one of the reasons that, and also to overuse a thing causes to lose its power. I mean, it's one of the reasons that words like racist, words like Nazi, words like bigot, words like homophobe, words like Islamophobe, all these things don't mean what they used to because they've been thrown around so damn much that they just don't have the meaning. I mean, if you think about it, what is the most commonly used word in the English language? The, the, the. There is zero power behind that word because it is used constantly by everyone, right? It's true of all words. All words have some measure of power, but all words also lose that power with use, right? They lose that potency, right? If I were to go up to somebody and be just like, right? They'd just be like, okay, right? Because it doesn't have any punch. So yeah, it's and that's the thing is we have to allow it. We have to let it in. We have to let the pernicious evil in. We have to let the bad feelings in. We have to choose to open the door to that shit, right? But here's the thing. You really think about it. It has no power over you. None. Except what you give it. It's your choice. Just as it's mine. Old Blondie says, you should eat something. You're so skinny you'll fall through your asshole. Yeah. I could see how that could have some impact, that particular phrasing. Yeah, when Lord Help Us Temp says, when I get called racist now, I smile and say thank you. I mean, it's really the only logical way to do it. That doesn't mean you're actually racist. It just means it's like, all right, whatever, You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't make it a true thing. And even if it is, I mean, I'm sure in some cases it is a true thing with some people, but it doesn't fucking matter, right? You can have whatever feelings about whatever you want. It is not, despite the attempts of the progressive left to make it illegal, it is not actually illegal to be prejudiced about anything, right? You can be all you like. You might run into some pushback over that, and in fact, probably will. And if you're willing to willing to deal with that, then go for it, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, personally, I've been called a few names myself, and it's just like, okay, well, I know that's not true, so it doesn't really matter what you think, right? So, you know, 'tis what it is. My white passing ass was called the N-word. Yeah, it happens. It happens. I've been called it, which is really fucking funny because I don't have a shred of black in me. You know, little red, not black. You know? So my favorite thing, my mother used to call me this. She used to call me an apple, right? Which is red on the outside, white on the inside. And that, I think, was the only time any slur levied against me has ever gotten under my skin. And I don't even think it was the slur itself. I think it was the fact that it was my mother who said it. So, yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But, you know, we don't have to allow these things to bother us, right? And this is how they get you, right? They get into your clique or your group or your whatever, and they start levying these terms around, these terms that we've been conditioned for decades to feel bad about, and they used to be used sparingly. You know, like if you go back to the 90s, calling somebody a racist was a very serious accusation back then, right? Doesn't mean shit now. But at the time, that was something that you didn't want to be called because that was an awful thing, an awful stigma to carry around with you. People wouldn't do business with you, that sort of thing, because it meant something, you know, a bad thing, but it meant something, right? It had power, it had potency. No more. You know, you throw that term around all you want. Doesn't mean a damn thing now, which is a shame, honestly, because when the real thing shows up, these people who keep throwing these terms around aren't going to be able to handle it. They aren't going to be able to deal with this. One of the reasons that I laugh when they toss the term Nazi around, right? Especially regarding the fact that the Nazis were a very specific political party from a singular country. Yes, they had people all over, you know, I mean, they did try to take over the fucking world. So, I mean, go figure. But the idea that today, in this day and age, while these political parties, there are remnants of these political parties out there, don't get me wrong, but they're not, as I keep telling these guys, right, every time they use the word Nazi, you wouldn't know one if they offered you an all expenses paid train ride. You just wouldn't, because you don't know what a fucking Nazi is because you've never met one. And the fact that you go around and you say this to everybody out there who fucking disagrees with you, not only makes that word lose its potency, lose its power, lose its meaning, but it also disarms you. Because if the real thing should ever show up, you won't know it. You won't see him coming. Because you're too busy slinging that term around at everybody else who's clearly not that thing. You know, and at that point, you know, may whatever God claims you help you out, because fucking no one else will. You've made enemies of everyone on earth. So good job. Good on you. You know, very inclusive, isolating yourself like that. I'm sure that's going to work out and end very well. You know? So yeah, it's just you gotta gatekeep this stuff. Like I was getting at about noobs to a thing, right? You know, yeah, we all started out there and all that, but you get to a point where somebody new comes in and tries to start changing the thing, fundamentally changing the thing, right? Not just for the way they view it. I mean, it's fine, you want to do whatever, like taking the Warhammer example, right? You can like mod your little figurines or whatever any way you like, right? But when you go to somebody else and you say, no, you have to mod your little figurines the way I like, that's when it becomes a problem. What's the old expression? It's like, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. You know, and I think that's a lesson that not too many have taken to heart in recent years, particularly in the West, particularly in the United States, and frankly, Great Britain. and Canada, and Australia and New Zealand. And I mean, I could go on, Germany's suffering pretty horribly from it right now. Same as France, although I care less about them, a lot less, because fuck the French. But wait a minute. Old Blondie, worst insult ever. You chickenhead, 12-year-old girl trying to insult but lacking vocabulary. Yeah. She probably heard it from somebody who was referring to an adult, and in which case that insult is a very specific term involving a very loose woman, probably one who gets paid to perform certain acts in back alleys. Usually paid in drugs. Like the term has meaning, and there's a very specific meaning behind it, but it's very urban. Maybe something a 12-year-old girl should not be throwing around. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's it. Just basically, yeah, you gotta keep your shit. I mean, y'all know me, right? Y'all know how I do the channel. Like, I don't give a shit if somebody comes into the chat or whatever, and completely disagrees with all of you and me as well, as long as they don't demand that we start changing our opinions just because they don't like what they hear, right? Because at that point, that's compelled speech. That's what Jordan Peterson got into fucking all that trouble about in Canada, with the struggle sessions and the fucking losing his tenure and all that stuff. You can't let him pass the gate, frankly. And that kind of sucks, because that means you got to be extra vigilant, right? Because if you're not too careful, or if you rather are too careful, you end up keeping out people who would otherwise be a benefit, right? People who just want to be part of the thing, who don't want to change it. So I mean, there's a fair amount of discretion that's got to go on there. We got to be awake. We got to be aware. We got to be able to discern. So it's just something that needs to change. And so to bring it back full circle, that's what Jake Monroe's talking about. He's talking about kind of a loose coalition or a movement, rather, of like-minded people. You don't even have to be conservative. You don't even have to have this view or that view. You just have to like a thing and not want people fucking it up, really. And I think that's good. That's important. I think it's something that we should all get behind. Left, right, center, whatever. Honestly. Although, left. Most of the ones with sense have already moved further to the right, so there's that. And yeah, that's my bias showing. I'm laying it out there on the table. Fuck them. But yeah, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. It surely is. It surely is. Because these people, what they're talking about, the hedonism that they bring with them, the rewriting of history, the changing of the language to suit their needs, this kind of thing, this isn't about freedom. It's not even about hedonism. It's not even about we get to do things however we want to do. It's about destroying the way that things are. Because when they're done doing that, they're going to build an edifice to banality, an edifice to corruption and oppression and evil in its place. And most of these little foot soldiers of theirs, most of these, for lack of a word, a better term these days, useful idiots, or brown shirts or whatever, these Antifa types, these whatevers, these terrorists, these little shit stains that go around stirring up trouble for the greater good, as they put it, quote unquote. They're not going to survive that either. Second it's done, second they have the power and all of the power, they'll be right up against the wall alongside the rest of us. the very second they're no longer useful. Because here's the thing about reactionaries and revolutionaries, right? They're very useful when it comes to staging a revolution, right? Laying the groundwork, as it were, to actually fighting it. But after the fact, when you're trying to build your little commie utopia, you can't exactly have a bunch of fucking revolutionaries running around now, can you? You know? Their entire thing is stirring up shit. You don't want that. So they gotta go. You gotta get rid of them. You know? And they have no idea. They all think they're gonna be like fucking painting Van Gogh style off in the fucking commune somewhere while somebody else, mucks out the pig stalls for the fertilizer so they can go spread shit on their little crops and whatnot. Thinking that they're going to be able to do whatever they want. They're not going to be able to do whatever they want. The ones that don't get shot are going to be fucking working the salt mines alongside everybody else. There's only ever a handful of people that ever benefit from this shit. And it starts with the kids, first and foremost. It starts in the colleges. It starts in the subcultures. It starts in the churches. It starts anywhere people gather to get away from the woes of the world. To take a breather. You can't let them have that. Can't let them have a bit of peace. Got to make sure they've got nowhere to turn. And that's how we lose. That's how everyone does. So, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, everybody. I hope I made some semblance of sense. I highly encourage y'all to watch the video in the description below that got all fucking choppy and weird. And that is in no way his fault. That is no way Jake Monroe's fault. That is entirely my own fault, or my internet connection, rather. It's whatever. But there's a reason that I linked that video for everybody who wants to go watch it. Check it out. You can also check out some of his other stuff. I mean, the guy seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders. I've been watching some of his stuff for a couple of months now. Apparently he's been on YouTube for fucking years, but I don't know. I just ran across him here not that long ago. But he makes some good points. He does. He also does a lot of like TikTok stuff, which I'm less into, like mocking TikToks and that kind of thing. But yeah, when he's got something to say, it's usually worth listening to, even if you disagree with it. He tends to be he chooses his words pretty carefully, I think. And well, he chooses them well. So definitely go check him out. Like I said, his channel link is below, and so is the link to the video. The video's title is Make Goth Great Again, which I like. I like that title. I do. It'd be nice. It'd be really nice. Things could go back to the good that they provided, to the respite, to the lack of adjectives springing to mind. Yeah, to that. So, hey, Orny Alf, welcome in. I'm just about to close down, but I appreciate you stopping by, man. So, yeah, definitely check them out. We will probably try again on Saturday to get through the whole video. I will have somebody there who can, hopefully play the whole thing. We've also got other shit that we're going to cover, though. Most notably Sunday's shooting, and some other stuff. I have a few things to say on it myself, although probably not as much as you might think this time. And there's a video that was sent to me earlier by my mother, of all people, that we're going to show as well, because I think it's important that people hear from the source, from the bishop of the church that was attacked. So about the aftermath and about what's happening now. So with that said, I appreciate you guys coming. I know this was a bit of a short one and all that. I did just intend to sort of kind of EFAP this video a little bit and address some of the points more directly. But like I said, again, we'll try again Saturday on that. Tomorrow we'll be back probably with more Legacy of Kain, and And again, probably on Thursday. I don't know. I might shake it up on Thursday. I might stream something else just for that night or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then obviously Saturday or Friday we'll be back with Abyssal Musings with Lawrence Knight and Abe and everybody, Devil. And Saturday, looking forward to Saturday, sort of, for Screaming into the Void, man. They wouldn't keep being heavy shows if heavy shit didn't keep happening. That's all I'm saying. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate all of you guys sitting here listening to me talk. I know that this is just kind of a once a month thing, but I do look forward to doing it myself and all that. And as always, it's always kind of a stream of consciousness thing. You know, I might have a place that I want to, or a topic that I want to cover or whatever, but mostly it's just me talking out my ass for hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. So it's nice that y'all showed up. I appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah. Have a great night, everybody. And we will see y'all next time. Remember, it could always be worse, YouTube and Rumble and Twix. Could be raining flaming cobras. Bye, everybody.